Welcome back. This will be Divine Partnership Coaching. Thank you, Karmics Part 2. Had some interesting things happen with trying to download it. But I guess, well, you know what? I'm not going to try to shorten it. This might end up having a Part 3, 4, 5. Who knows? We'll just go with it. Those that are meant to watch it and enjoy it, it's here for you. Otherwise, you're welcome not to watch. So, in the last video, I was talking about, like, in some of my own experience, I had called in some third parties, and part of it was, especially being a Type 8 Enneagram, my nature of being a lesson teacher, and when I'm in unevolved energy, is like being a negative lesson teacher, and it's hard too because I often am right, but as with anything we manifest, what we think about. It's funny, it's not even that I'm right. Everybody's right. We're always right. What we believe is what the universe brings around us to confirm. So what we believe is true is true. If you believe someone's hurting you, they are. If you believe they're not, they're not. If you believe that that everybody is always unfaithful and going to hurt you, they all do. Because you're looking for it. Whereas if you believe that most people are full of good and doing the best that they can to work with their own traumas and experiences, and that they love you and they don't really mean to hurt you, then you see that they don't. And the times that they might, you can give them grace and give yourself grace. But I wasn't in that place at the time. It's not even that I hadn't learned that lesson. I was hurting a lot. And I ended up, like I was saying, I learned about attachment traumas, and we were in counseling and stuff. And one of the things that had been suggested to me is to go for an old idea that I had always thrown around, that he'd ask me, what would you do if you didn't want to be together anymore, if we were going to break up? And I would say, I wouldn't do that. I'd want to be polyamorous because I didn't want to break up. And the only thing I could think of that would bring me to that point is being so hurt by back and forth emotional cheating and other third party karmic situations that really frustrated me, and more so because he would get hurt than because I would get hurt. But then it would hurt me because I'd try to say, hey, you're going to get hurt again. And then you bring that energy into here and we all get spun out. And then I try to say, hey, maybe you should have better boundaries or do something like that. And then I was the bad guy for suggesting that. And then I'm like all other women, because he's looking for confirmation that, I'm like all the rest in karmics, that I just want to isolate him and use him and stuff like that. And I felt bad because I understand how hard it is to be kind of stuck in a mindset like that. But it ended up, it's funny because it ended up good. But at the time it took me to a really bad place. I lost who I was. I lost faith in myself. I lost faith in him, and I started to go down in vibration, down to where he was. And I broke my own rules, and especially when it was suggested, go towards polyamory, which I'm totally not against polyamory. Love it. If you're polyamorous, go for it. I'm not even opposed to it. It's just, I got a Capricorn Venus, I may play it off to be cool like that, but I'm really a one love kind of person. And I've gotten to a place now to where I could be that person whether or not I have them or not, and it doesn't stop me. I'm still glowing up. Heck, I just hit 160 subscribers. Thank you to all of you. And which, it's funny. It's the Tower 16 and 7, the Chariot momentum, right? Enlightenment, change-ups, progress, shaking up false foundations, and victory, momentum, movement. It's nice. And I can look back at pulling in the time when I pulled in third-party karmics, and I couldn't figure out at that time why it was that they seemed to have a similar theme, why they seemed to be so much like my DM in their own life stories, and how they were treating me, both in the good ways and the bad ways. And that created a whole situation about whether or not anybody's comparable. But I was mostly, especially with my ADHD, my brand of autism, and what was going on, I was mostly observing patterns and going like, no, like I'll hold this space for my DM. I'm not going to do that for somebody else too. Not when I have a choice not to. There's somebody else out there to do that, And it took me a while to realize that it was mostly just what my heart really wanted him. Heart wants what the heart wants. And that even more than that, it took me a while later to recognize that what I needed was some karmic lessons. There were some boundary setting and some arguments and some negative experiences that he wouldn't go there with me. He didn't want to hurt me in those ways. He didn't want to tell me no. He didn't want to be honest with how he felt, and he wanted to be a different, better person than he used to be with others. And so in a similar way to where his karmics have fights with him and help manifest